Right, good morning. This is Westley Bone, who's, I'll just give you some context. So I worked at Shirefolk College of Art in the music department. Wes worked in performing arts, and then in February of this year when we came to do FMPs, I was with the level 2 musicians and the level 2 performing arts. And they put on the Breakfast Club, the 80s film, and they did a stage production of that. So I worked on the music side. Wes did the film, so they did this like segue. So when you saw the show, halfway through the show it stopped. And Wes did this fantastic film, and the band played Baggy Trousers, Madness underneath, and it was like a sort of comedy kind of. Anyway, it broke the show up brilliantly. And then after the FMP, in Hereford you've got the River Wye runs through it. It's the most heavily polluted river in the country, so there's a sort of Save the Wye thing going on. So Wes and I had the music students and some of the performing arts, and we got about 8 songs together, and then there was a festival on Saturday, and we took them, Wes and I took them down, and they played the festival, and that finished off their year for them. So what we're going to talk about today on this session is about putting on your own gig or putting on a festival. And the reason I'm doing it today is for 2 reasons. One, we, the year ones, are going to be putting on our own little gig, so it'd be nice to get some information off Wes about how you put on your own gig. And festival-wise, at Hereford, the year 2, 5 of the year 2s put on their own festival as their FMP. So you know we've talked about doing albums and EPs. These 4 students had already done that in year 1 and didn't want to do the band thing. But they were like, there's no gigs on in Hereford. We can't go and see anyone. Why don't we do our own gig? So what they ended up doing was they went to 3 pubs, asked the pubs if they could have the night, the specific night. So it was like a crawl. So they got wristbands, posters, and we went round.
What a festival called, I think.
So it was 3 pubs on Saturday night with bands from college and other bands, and we had wristbands because I went, and you went from one pub to the other and there's all bands going. So it was their they did t-shirts, I think they did bags and stuff, so that was their FMP for year 2. So they all got distinctions because it was brilliant. I mean, it was fraught with like anxiety because stuff happened and like it does on a gig. Somebody else separately had, I think, a granddad who had a field they could use, so she put on her own festival with bands from college, but had to get in portable toilets and security, so it was all part, and that was her FMP, and that was a distinction level. So Wes is going to talk to you about how you kind of do that and all the pitfalls of that, and also all the fantastic things you get from it, including not only put on your own festival, but meeting other artists. So, yeah, when you sit down, you see there's nothing going on in Kidderminster. Well, maybe you should put something on yourself. You know? So Wes is going to tell you all about how that kind of works. Grants that are available if you feel like it's like a big thing you want to do, you can carry on doing it month after month or whatever. And maybe that culminates with you getting in bigger acts. And your college band can support the bigger acts. So you're opening a massive door into a whole nother world. So I think you need to consider that for like a potential year 2 FMP, especially for the year 1s, if you think that's something, I'm going to put my own gig. And I will mark that as your kind of final major project. So it's worth considering. So listen to what Wes has to say in the slides, and any questions you feel relevant to what you're doing either in year 1 or year 2, please ask at the end. Yes? All right with that? Okay. This afternoon Wes is going to do another talk on something completely different. But today, this morning, putting on your own gig, putting on your own festival, and making it a long-lasting thing if you want, or maybe it's just a one-off. Okay? So round of applause for Wes, please.
If I just start off with one project, we can start there how this could have came to be. I've run various different projects, and then we can go and look at how those started and how those developed. But we'll start with Shirefolk. Shirefolk came about because about a year and a bit ago, I was asked to do some mentoring for a musician, an incredible musician called George Bone. And I went to see him play at his place in Birmingham called the Kitchen Garden Cafe, and it was just the coolest venue. Me and Jen, my partner, we went there, and it was only held 25 people or something, but it was the coolest space, and we've got a musician at the one end, we've got beautiful music going on, and me and Jen had to drive for an hour and a half to get there, and on the drive home, we just kept going, I wish there was something like that by us, you know, and you just kind of, I wish there was something. A month later, I then go to the English Folk Expo, and then I see some incredible talent. I see these musicians that I'm just, my jaw hits the floor and go, these are just the musicians that are coming through now, the young musicians. I just had no idea that they were this brilliant. And then I started to think, I program for venues, I put shows on in theatres and shows like that. Why don't I know these people? Why is this the first time that I've encountered them? And then the sort of penny clicked, penny dropped, is that it's actually because we don't really have that cool 25-seater venue where these artists are currently playing. They're not at 200-seaters yet, and they're bigger than 3 in a pub, but they're not quite big theatres yet. They're in that growth stage. And so that's when me and Jen decided to try and do something about it. We could either sit here and moan about it, drive to Birmingham for an hour and a half to go and see something, or we could try and put on our own shows and try and bring those artists to us. So that's when we got the idea for Shirefolk, and the idea developed, and then we decided, well, instead of just doing one show, the logistics of that and the finances of that don't really work. Why don't we bring them over for 3 shows, and we'll do 1 show in Hereford, 1 show in Ludlow, and 1 show in Bridgnorth, and call it a tour, and it's a 3-day tour for them. It's financially much more viable for them, it's much more experience for them, and our audiences, they struggle to maybe travel. The public transport in these areas is terrible after a certain time of night. Bridgnorth, we don't even have a train station apart from the steam railway. We don't have a bus after 6 o'clock, I don't think. And we just felt it was being a bit absurd. So the first thing we did to try and take this idea forward was to talk to people about it. It's like, is this a good idea? You know, is there a sanity check on the idea? It's like, we think it's an amazing idea. It's incredibly risky, but are other people going to be as excited about it as us? And so we started to talk to a few people. And we started to talk to people like Ludlow Distillery. And we thought, well, if we're going to make this happen, we're going to need some money. So what we also need is marketing. So why don't we go and speak to a few people who have got marketing teams and see if they want to be as partner on the project, and instead of giving us cash, they gave us their marketing team. You know, it's easier for them to say, you can give you your marketing team for 4 hours a week, than it is for them to say, here's a check. And then get their logos on. This is a good tester, let's go out there, speak to a few people. And Ludlow Distillery absolutely loved it. To the point of, they said, actually we don't want to partner in that sense. We wanted to be the venue, not just the name on the poster, which was great. Then we started to speak to other people, and just the energy behind it started to grow. People started to talk to us about it. We started to talk to more people, and everybody had positive things to say. And what an interesting idea! I'd love to come to something like that. But okay, we're getting the right noises. There's a desire there from the customer, the end user, to want to come to this kind of thing. So that kind of market research was really, really valuable to us, because we needed to know whether people might think it's a good idea or not. So we did that, and then we did the numbers, we did all the finance, looking at how much it would cost to do something like this, and that's the logistics of the transportation of the equipment, what equipment do we need, what insurances do we need, how much will the artist get, how much will the accommodation for the artist cost, how much will it cost to feed the artist, and each of the shows is filmed, so there's a filming cost and editing time, and so it's just really sitting down with a spreadsheet and putting together all of those costs that we thought that we might have, and then looking at, now that we know the bill of the dream, and how do we get that money? So what we did, we looked around for some sponsors to give us money, but also we put an application into the Arts Council. So the Arts Council is the national lottery funding, where you as individuals or artists, companies, go to them and go, we have got this idea, and they give you a form, and all the information, benefits from it, artists, audiences, how does it work, how is it serving the need in the community, what's the artistic outcome, and then numbers, how much things cost and how much you're asking for. And then really quick, if you're asking for under £30,000, they give you an answer within 8 weeks. So it's very, very quick turnaround, and you can apply at any time for this. So you can apply from about, I think it's from £1,000. So if you're doing a small scale show, you can apply for sort of pitch pot funding just to get the idea. They've just changed all their forms so they're even easier to fill in, because it is designed for us to fill in to try and do something exciting. And we were successful, which was really cool. So we got the funding. One of the things we noticed with the other bits of work that I do is that we've had a bit of a shortage of sound engineers in the area. So, as this example that you said earlier, there's a sound engineer not turning up because there's not many around. So one of the things that I've done with this project was to always put into it that I take an intern with me. So on each of the tours, I take an intern who's either training or finished training sound and music, and then they come out and do the 3 days with me.
Do you mean like I think we've got a part in our unit where we have to do volunteering? Do you mean something like that, like the Texas student?
So what Wes did is one of the year 2 students. He's a guy called Nathaniel, who was like a rock guitarist and like playing and a really good drummer. But halfway through year 2, he decided that performing was not his thing. He was getting into the sound and mixing, producing. So Nate also changed his mix. So he went from playing like death metal and drum death metal. He got into beats and more kind of trip hop kind of stuff. Fantastic student, really, really quiet, really shy. So Wes asked him if he wanted to come and do the sound for the Shirefolk. And it was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
So that sort of opportunity.
So that's it.
What you do.
So what I've noticed is that after COVID,
interested in that.
This is it. So what I've noticed is that in the bigger theatres, we've got these needs for sound engineers, and we've got these people who are really interested in training, but they don't have much experience on the road. And so what I'm trying to do is plug that gap, where I take an intern with me, and the system I've bought is subs, tops, digital mixing desks, digital stage lights. It's basically a replica system of what we're using in the larger theatres around here, so that people can get experience on that rig, go out there and actually do the mixing, so that it's easier then for them to walk into the larger theatres and do the same way. Nate got offered 3 jobs at the end of that. You know, it's just you got asked.
And can't remember his name. Who was did the
Kale?
So another student in year 2, Kyle, did the Christmas shows at the Regal at the Royal Tennis. He did the whole run. He then, when I had a discussion with him about going to uni, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to uni. He applied to the BBC to be an engineer for BBC Introducing. I think it was 220 applicants. He got the job. It's 26,000 a year on a 14-month contract to keep you on. So he did the Christmas pantos, 2 shows a day for...
2 shows, he did 29 performances in the end.
Wow.
But you take that experience into the interview with the BBC, and what have you done? You go, oh, I've done a panto for 2 shows.
I did a week with him training on the system and everything, and then I just kind of left him to it, and he just ran the whole thing.
Wow.
You know, it's about getting your hands dirty. It's going out there and doing stuff like that.
I definitely recommend that. Yeah, definitely.
So it's
because we've done kind of the same thing. I've come in as a singer, but I've gone into the production side of it and the sound and everything else, and I'm finding that, and I ended up finding myself doing a festival, doing a stage setup, and I just absolutely loved it. But I haven't got the knowledge in it yet.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. and you've already gone in the deep end.
Oh,
So one of the things to do with, when I was trying to get partners and promotion and things like that, one of the things I had to keep in my mind is that when I'm going to somebody and asking them to be a partner, I have to understand that they need to get something from it too, okay? So why would this company want to be a partner of us? You know, what's in it for them? And a good relationship is very honest and open. You sit down at the beginning and you go, what would we like to achieve with this? I wanted Ludlow Distillery, I'll use them as the example, because they're an exceptionally high quality brand, right? One of the things I'm trying to do with Shirefolk is to make sure that everything we do is exceptionally high quality. So to attach myself with another brand, which is got the reputation of high quality, sort of rubs off on us a little bit, do you know what I mean? And so by us keeping our reputation high, helps them as well. From their point of view, what they wanted is they want their brand to be seen to be doing interesting things. You know, it's not just gin or whiskey. It's a gin and whiskey who's passionate about music and is about the arts and being seen by the people who attend these events, and we film them so online eventually, that this is an interesting brand. It's not just Gordon's gin. This is, you know, a gin that has gone out there and done something special. Also,
it's helping each other.
It's helping each other. And as long as you go, I've always found if you go in and have that honest discussion of, this is what I would like to get from it, clearly, and this is what I think you want, is that right? And they go, actually, we'd like this and this and this. And then you make that marriage of ideas work. And so with that, there comes a certain obligation with marketing to then make sure that you have the right photos. You know, it's quite hard to see on the green, but you know, this is the owner of Ludlow Gin, with all the gin bottles in the background, me, one of our artists, and another musician who came down on the evening. So that's really good social media food for them. You know, it's great for us as well, because hey, we're with Ludlow. Everybody's winning by taking that right photo. And so as we went through all of our partners and people who wanted to work with us, we just thought, who do we think would get benefit by partnering with us and would help us by partnering with them? So I reached out to Hobgoblin Music in Birmingham, and they've got like a big chain of music stores, shorter stores, and it's folk instruments. I mean, it's like, it couldn't be a more perfect marriage, you know. And what I wanted from them was, I wanted them to be able to share some of our social media posts, because they've got a national chain of social media across the country. Also, I want to be able to phone somebody at 11 o'clock on a Friday night to go, we've just broken mandolin strings, can I come to the shop now and get some for tomorrow morning, you know, and have that out of hours emergency service, should I need it for these unusual instruments, which I'm not going to be able to get strings from. For Amazon, or if somebody breaks a bone and something strange happens, and I know they're going to have that kind of stuff. And that's our relationship. They get to be connected with these musicians, and as these musicians grow, the Hobgoblin brand will be with them, you know, and from our point of view, we get their share in the socials. They get to be seen to be doing something interesting and different and high quality. So it's about that sort of, that shared vision, and having a symbiotic relationship, I think, is what I'm looking for, where you both benefit. Nobody loses, it's just you're both benefiting in some way. So whenever I try and put a project on, just try and think of who those people are and reach out to them. And that's what really helped this. So when we put the bid into the Arts Council, I could say, we're partnered with, let's show you now, supporters. We've got Ludlow, the English Folk Expo, and this is a major national folk expo which all the major folk artists are connected with somehow. And I got those to come and be a partner, and they sort of backed the idea. Ludlow Distillery, Violet's Tea Room, one of the venues, the Jam Factory, Hobgoblin Music, and then we have Hereford College of Arts where we got the Bridge. So we just work with, and then make sure that you thank appropriately, you capture photos appropriately. Because it's much easier the next project if you've had that shaky hands and it's gone really well, next time you do a project, you can go, remember me and how great that was. And yeah, it definitely works the second time around much easier. So, back to this. These artists are, the first thing then is we wanted to do these 3 days. 3 days works financially. I need spaces. Well, the local studio they came straight forward and went, we'll only really do this if we can be a space because we really love the idea. And it's like, great, come down. They give us the space for free. They keep the bar taking. And there's the symbiotic relationship again. I don't have to hire the space and they take the money on the bar, which is great. So they was like, okay, that kind of works. Let's go and see other spaces. So we went and spoke to the Jam Factory in Hereford. And that was weird because as I walked in there, they just had a meeting the day before about they do so much for original music, but they can't seem to do anything for folk music. They've got no connection to the folk world. And I walk in and go, I've got this folk project and I really want to use your space. And they're like, and it's got glass all on side so you can see over High Rock and all these lovely views. And I just thought, that's the closest to the Kitchen Garden Cafe, the dream venue that we saw in Birmingham. Now I've been very honest and straight, and I've spoken to the Kitchen Garden Cafe people and said, just to let you know, you were the inspiration, you know, and they really appreciated that. So go back and sort of thanking those is really helpful. It's not, I'm stole your idea, I was inspired by what you do there. So then it's programming, so the artists. So first of all was George Bonesman. This is an artist I've seen a few times, and he's the one that I've been working with. And he's an incredible musician, and we just felt that he should be in front of people. And I need to charge some money for the tickets, so I put the tickets at £10. Apart from Hereford, because they wanted to do folk music, they said, not only will we give you the space for free, we will give you some money to bring the artist to us, so that it's free entry, okay? And I was like, well, this is an interesting model, we'll give this a go. And then the other ones, we charge £10 a ticket. And if I sell out on all the shows, it basically covers the fee for the artist, okay? So I don't get any money from that. That's where the Arts Council comes in, and so that helps me. I don't keep any of the ticket money effectively, I give it all to the artist. But the Arts Council pays me to sort of build the project together. With George, it was one that we absolutely had 100% belief in as an artist. As somebody that was desperate to get in front of people. I played him to you, you were doing and what I've got to do now is I've got a space, I've got an artist that nobody's ever heard of, and now I'm asking people to give me £10 to come and see somebody they've never seen or heard of into a space they don't really know is a venue. And it's like, okay, well this is a thinking moment of how do I get this message out there. So I decided to go with the more broad marketing approach. Instead of just, because folk artists can be, as a genre, very niche and cliquey. And it's like some jazz communities can be really, you only know where the event's happening because you know somebody and you've been there. They don't really shout about it too much. So I went with the whole, let's just tell everybody, let's shout from the rooftops and say, this is happening, and tell everybody how brilliant he is, and see what happens. I printed 5,000 flyers for each area, and I went door to door. I spent days and days on the longest walks ever, just literally flyering everybody's house. I went to the newspapers, but then it's like, how else can I get promoted? So we went to BBC Radio Shropshire, we spoke to them there, and they just loved the idea as well. And so we managed to get on the Genevieve Tudor Folk Show just before the channels changed, which was great because as we were driving away from there, I could look on my phone. Because I've got Google Analytics on my phone, I can see how many people are looking at the website at any one time, and you can suddenly see a spike of activity on the website. It's like, oh, that works. And I was like, how do I tell that the flyers are working? Well, actually, the day after doing flyering, I can see on my phone that there's a spike in activity on those days as well. It's like,
What's that called? Sorry, analytics.
Google Analytics. So it's free. If you've got your own website, you can install the Google Analytics. It's free, and it gives you a real time who's looking at what page on your website at any moment. But it also lets you to analyse it backwards and go, over the last 28 days, was that more page views than the 28 days before? What's different? And so it's about working with the marketing in that side, just trying to, what did I change? Or I changed the logo from, I looked at the web page and went, if I make the home page with a little video of what is Shirefolk, because that's usually the first question, is a little video, our attention to the website meant the amount of time people stayed on the website was higher when they knew what Shirefolk was. So that's when I took that off the front landing page, people would only stay on the site for a few seconds. When you put that on the first thing that you see, people stayed on the site for several minutes checking out things, so it's just really useful for that kind of thing. So it's just getting that message out there. And then we went and I spoke to Sunshine Radio, who have Ludlow radio station and Hereford, and that's the presenter and that's the guy who runs the show behind. And they do a podcast, and so they came down to Ludlow Distillery and they recorded a podcast with us, and they got snippets on the radio as well, which is really useful. And then we thought, well, this is really interesting idea. Why don't we record a podcast with each artist and then put that out online and shout about it and put bits of their music in it with their permission, obviously. And then people who don't know these artists, which is everybody in this area, can go and listen to that podcast and they'll get to hear a little bit of their music and understand them as a person and hear how they are and just feel like they know them a bit more. And again, that worked really well, so we do that with every artist now. So around 2 weeks to 4 weeks before a show, we will put up the podcast of the person who's coming next. And that way people can kind of sit down and listen to it and go, yeah, that's my cup of tea, I really like that. Oh, I might miss this one, that's my, you know, but it gets people talking about it, which is nice.
And I just,
yeah.
I think that was probably, for me, the key.
Yeah.
You know, when you sort of go, should I go to this gig or not? And you know, you have to find, I mean, if there's a podcast and you can listen to someone talking, you know, and you get a feel of where it's in
The informational part of it.
Yeah, and that's your advert. When you go, I'm going to go to the gig, that sounds fantastic, and they sound brilliant when they're talking. So I thought that was like one of the key important things, that you just go, that sounds really good.
And the background of someone as well.
Yeah, because
not just listening to
you're
their
being
music,
interviewed.
knowing who they are, where they come from,
what
and
they do.
knowing what they do.
What's great is it sits there and it just lives there. Once it's done, it lives there. It only takes one of these artists to suddenly make a #1 hit, and everybody in the world's finding all the other podcasts and knowing more about it. So it's a growth thing. Each one adds more and more into the pot. And then, this is a gentleman called Chris Quinn. He's an incredible gypsy jazz and folk guitarist. And he was doing some big shows, selling 150 sort of seaters. And we started talking about it. He absolutely loved the project, so he said, why don't you come down to my show and talk about it on stage before I go on stage, and I can flyer it and all that kind of stuff. And it was great, and again, it was because I've been shouting about his and I've been flyering for him just to try and get his shows. It's that symbiotic thing, let's help each other, you know, and so that really was helpful. And then this is the gentleman who runs the Jam Factory. It's again, making sure you got the nice picture, the Jam Factory logo in the background, just constant promotion, but it's supporting them. And it doesn't hurt to invite the mayor and ask them to bring their bling, you know, because that picture sold so many more tickets for the next artist because that one made all the papers by us and it got picked up by loads of websites, yeah?
A lot of the older generations as well, I know it sounds silly, but with the Met, when as soon as you get a photo with the Met, people like my nan would be like interested in going on something like that.
Well, this is it. So another interesting thing to do is look at your local newspaper and go, what's the kind of stories they're printing, the positive ones, and what's the kind of pictures that they're putting in. And so it's good if you can kind of get that kind of photo, and I knew that if I can get the mayor to come down with Bling and get our logo right there in the shot, and, you know, it's going to be great with the artists, with me and Jeff putting it on, and straight away, front cover of the newspaper in original and things like brilliant. And writing the article for them is really helpful, you know, because these are incredibly busy people. So it's good to sort of write the article, send it across. They can chop and change it and do what they want to it, but it means that they've got a really good starting point and they really like quotes. So if you say, Westley Bone, our Shirefolk, so don't forget to write in the third person, said, and George Bonesman said, and the mayor said, and then they really like those sort of great things. So that's really helpful with promotion as well.
So what we're actually naming in assignments and things like that, how to word things correctly, is what you to showcase.
And so with the setups, this is the original one. You can see there you've got all brass down the sides, and it's the T-ribs. It's quite a beautiful little background, really. I think it's really sweet. But once you set the chairs up, the first one's always the hardest, okay? Because the first one, you're scratching your head going, where are the cables going? Where are the plug sockets? What are the logistics? And it's good to have thought about a lot of this beforehand, rather than going in completely cold. So what I did for this venue was, I went in the summer. Our first show was in September. I went in for a day in the summer, and they let me go in one evening. And I took a bunch of the gear in, and just thought, it doesn't get through that door. Okay, that's it. I've got to tip that to get it through the door. I don't want to tip that one, so we're going to take it through that door. These are the plug sockets. I need 4 extension cables for this to work. And so just doing that the logistic thing in advance was really, really helpful. And you can do it without bringing all the gear in. You can sit there and sort of go through it in your mind. Okay, what's the logical step? Okay, I've got 2 bass speakers. Okay, they're going to go there and there. Where's the nearest plug socket? So just mapping that out, the logistics of how this is all going to go in, how much time that's going to take, and how are the seats going to go. Okay, there's sort of just here, there's a little bar area which is where they normally serve. Well, if they do that, then these people are going to get interfered with all the time. So they can move the bar around to the other side. Where are they going to sell the merchandise from? Is it lit up? How are we lighting this up? So we ended up using film lights because we film everything, and we could turn that light off, which is great. But it's just going through all of that in advance. The week before the first show here, I was fortunate enough to be asked to sort of organise a private party in this space for a gentleman called John Bowden, and he normally doesn't play spaces as small as this, and he comes along and he's got like 14 channels. He's got a stomp box, accordion, guitar, electric guitar, all this kind of stuff. I was like, well, this is the perfect test, isn't it? So the week before, I could actually load all the equipment in with an exceptionally professional musician who knows exactly what he wants, stood in the space and did the show, and it worked great, and we got exactly what. But because we've done all the homework beforehand. Now, when we come to Ludlow, there was supposed to be a different lighting situation put in from our first meeting, and this is where it's good to go back to spaces as well. If you're going to go do this, it's like, oh, they're going to do this and we're going to do that. Sometimes people don't get round or don't have the ability to do some of the things on their list. So this communication is really, really key. So we call them pod meetings, so they're like production meetings where you can go back, re-communicate with the people, find out where they are with what they need to achieve. You say where you are with what you need to achieve, and this is where you work together. It's like, oh, you're struggling with that. Oh, actually, I met somebody who can do that, or you can help each other out to achieve. There's 2 things that we noted from the Ludlow side of things. One, they weren't able to get chairs. They used little stools. Now, our audience, we know some of them will want to have chairs. So I found a friend who had a friend who had 11 chairs. It was one of those, it was like, okay, this is the day before the show, I need some chairs. Who got you? So you reach out to your network and go, anybody got some chairs? I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace, how can I buy some chairs? And fortunately, somebody lent me 11 chairs. And so that got us through that problem. But the lighting for the space, they've got these strip lights, you know, they're like, no, the office lights. Because they're actually, this is a distillery, they're making whiskey, they're making gin. This is a work environment, it's a factory effectively for alcohol. But what we're trying to do is a moody, cool, showcasey thing, and it doesn't want these horrible strip lights on. They never got around to, because they were doing so much work with the whiskey, they never got around to changing the lighting to have some more interesting lighting. So, the day before, we communicated where we're all at. I managed to solve the problem by going to a builder's yard, and you can buy little LED plug-in builder's lights that they hang up in places, and they're about £6 or £7, and you can get bigger ones for about £12. So it's like, well, if I buy 6 or 7 of those and put them on the floor so you can see where you're going, it's kind of moody, and then let's own this industrial factory look, you know, let's make it cool. And then we put our film lights onto the audience, onto the artist again. We can then, you can see I've got these industrial lights just there. We've got little lights. And what I did was I made this film for me. So next time I went back, I knew where they were. So there's all the whiskey barrels. And then a little light there pointing up at the flag so that it would look really good on the film. Film lights for the artist.
It's a cool space, isn't it?
It's a really cool space, and so by not trying to force it to be a different kind of venue, like a traditional venue, why not go with it and go, we're in an interesting space for a reason, let's keep that interest, let's add to it. And, now, the one thing to do with the heritage, and that was great, so that worked.
Yeah, have you got a video of what it looked like without the lights on?
I don't, unfortunately, as it's just a bare room. I don't, unfortunately, sorry. No, I don't, because we already did this, started taking footage once we'd all set it all. The Hereford show, okay, so I mentioned to you about the funding of that. So what, that space, £10 tickets for these two venues. Hereford show is going to be free, brilliant, we'll get lots of people there, and great idea, gives it open to everybody. The venue's going to pay us a bit of money. 2 people turned up. Sell out show at Ludlow, sell out show at Bridgnorth, 2 people turn up. Okay, what's gone wrong? Okay, so how do we, this is the free one, surely this should be full. It works out that by making it completely free, we have devalued the quality of this product and this artist to the customer. So by trying to do it for free, we've kind of killed it off, which was just bizarre. And it was like, okay, so why don't we charge £5 instead of a £10 ticket? So it's a subsidised ticket still. Side, next time. It's simple as that. You know, we thought, what have we done wrong with the promotion? Is much further away from it. You know, well, I say sad, it was like, the room holds 25, we had 19. The next show, after, I literally was turning people away at the door going, I'm sorry, you need to report a ticket in advance, I'm sorry, the room was just way too small. And it just, so it's thinking that's the opposite response of what I'd hoped for. I thought this is the free one, isn't it? And all the paid ones, people are investing in it. They are going to turn up because they paid £5 or £10. And it meant that I could then go to that venue and go, I know you're subsidising it and giving us some money, give us less now because we're making a little bit on the ticket bill, and that's being fair to them, it's fair to us, so everybody still makes the same, and it keeps the project going on the time. So don't always think that free is the best way forward, because it wasn't for us. But this is what is great as well. This is a learning process. At no point have we gone in and gone, we're going to make this work for Africa. Our original targets, so having targets, really smart targets, I'm sure you might have encountered smart targets, is really, really useful. So our target for George on the first show, as a complete unknown to everybody in a completely new venue, was 20. The venue holds 36. We sold 36. So we were well over, you know, the next one, 20. Our targets were really we kept them really conservative. We were expecting to get to 36s by next June or July, so it slowly increased, but to actually hit those sellout things. For the Bridge North one, I don't even bother printing a poster anymore because they're just selling out because of the word of mouth. And we ask people to talk about it. You know, the best advertising is always when somebody that you know and trust tells you, we should check this out. We can do all of this, but if you've had it, that's great, and it gets the idea out there. But still, if your mate says to you, oh my God, I went to see this the other day, you should come with me next time, that's better than any Facebook ad that I can possibly do. So we do ask, and we communicate this to our audiences, and you said you've been to a few of them, which is, you've been to all of them, yeah, and we always say, if you can and you enjoyed it, please tell. Gathering feedback as well is also really, really good. We sent out a feedback questionnaire after the first one, and we're going to send another one now for the season. We didn't want to bombard people. You don't want to, every time you do something, you get a questionnaire. You don't want it to be that annoying. So we just did it after the first one to get the initial feedback. Great. We need more chairs. We need maybe a little bit more heating there. You know, listening to your audiences is really, really key. You know, and we learned a lot from that feedback. We also learned that when everybody was asking a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this? 10 being the best. Definitely I've already recommended it, kind of thing. Every single person ticked 10. So we knew that that was on the right scale of things, you know. We got a 98 or 97% approval for George's music and performance. You know, it was just out of 10. I think there was only 2 or 3 people who scored 9 or 8. You know, everybody else was 10, 10, 10. So we knew that the quality was there and their enjoyment is the right kind of thing. Scored slightly less on the comfortability of the chairs. Great, okay, we know we've got to do something more with that. We did find them the day before, so we're chuffed that we had any chairs. We know that next time we're going to work with, listen to customers. If anybody needs a specific kind of chair, we always try and build those personal relationships and go, we're going to earmark that for that person, because we're meeting and greeting every single person. Jen looks after and meets everybody and tries to build these relationships and gets to know their names and talks to them and find out things that they need and want from the show, while I'm running the technical aspects of the show. So that kind of stuff. I've just rambled. So does that make any sense?
Does anyone have any questions at this point? Hands up, please. Alice, thank you.
It's a fantastic project that you've made.
Thank you.
How do you, so obviously, how long has this been going?
So we started, the idea came last October.
Yeah.
We put the funding application in April. We got approval in May. And then we started to really hit the ground and sort of buy the PA and do all the tests. Our first tour was September.
Right.
Our second tour was in October, our third tour was in November, so we've done 3.
Okay.
We take December and January off because it's silly season right now. You know, everybody's just, it's panto season as well in all the spaces. January is the wake-up call after silly season, and so February moves. Yeah, and so we start in February and we're going through till next September. And we're taking August off as well because everybody goes on holiday. Yeah.
So, in that time, where do you keep all of the lights and things like that?
So,
have you got sorted?
Yeah, well, my wife makes wedding dresses and costumes for theatres and all that kind of stuff. So she's got a workshop where I did store it all in the living room, and I loved having it in the living room. So the moment we bought it in June, beginning of June, it was right next to my computer in the living room. I had flight cases, a mixing desk, PA set up in the corner. It was ace. But at the end, at the end of the first tour with George, we did agree that maybe the living room should look slightly more like a living room. I mean, it's the same, not too much like a living room. Still got a martial arms in the corner. It's still a total cave of tons. But yeah, the PA is probably a little bit too much. So we flight case it up and we put it into Jen's workshop where she makes. So not only have I destroyed our living room, I've now destroyed her workplace as well.
So it's useful having a spare sort of storage place rather than, see, because people who live in standard housing, but maybe storage would be a problem.
Yeah, so our problem is specifically is that we live in a very inaccessible space, okay? So I live in Bridgman, which basically means there's no parking, and I live halfway up the cliffside, right?
Oh, wow.
So to get to my house is 39 steps from the bottom, or 82 or 83 steps if I go up. So it's virtually impossible to get to my house with big heavy gear without big long arms. So we try not to move stuff in and out. If I had a garage, I purposely bought this rig based on its quality, its compatibility with what's going on in the other theatres, and its size. So the size of the rig, most of it would actually go into a Mini. Okay, so I have a Mini Clubman. If I only had just me and flattened all the seats down, I can get the crux of this system in the Mini. Okay, so it doesn't take up too much space if you're storing it. But my problem is when it's at home, I don't want to just store it. I want it all set up, and I want to play with it. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you maintain and manage your own stages? If you were to do, say like in the summer, do you do outdoor?
Yes, so my other thing that I do is I'm a volunteer director for the Bridge North Music and Arts Festival. Okay? The Bridge North Music and Arts Festival is a free to attend every single event, 5 to 10 day music and arts festival across the whole town. This festival this year was only 5 days because we've had a few years off because of COVID. And we decided we had to make that decision of, do we bring it back? You know, we've had a few years where they haven't been rushing around all August, desperately trying to find sponsorship, find stages and all that kind of stuff. But we decided that it's actually such a great thing for the town. It's an expensive time for families in the summer. And so to have something which is free to attend at the August bank holiday weekend, so it's the last weekend. We start on the Thursday this year. We did poetry at the library with book signings and all that kind of stuff. And then we went into drum workshops. And on the Saturday, we took over the Castle Gardens, and we had this beautiful bandstand. So we had bands and musicians on in there all day, and then we had a 40-piece choir come down. We're trying to get some plays in there as well for next year and stuff like that. Yeah.
When it comes to things like that, like, do you have a specific stage company that you use? Because that's what I was trying to say.
This year's stage is the lorry.
Is it
for the high street. So we've got a friend to do a drone shot, and so that's the high street sort of stage, and the day at the top of it. But previous years, I've had it so that we built a marquee that holds 1,500 people and have a stage. Because we're doing it on the road, on the high street, the road is kind of twisted and covered on one side. So we had a stage company build us a special stage that we hire off them once a year. So they would then store it at their warehouse, because the marquee company was also the staging company. They would come down, drill into the road, put this marquee up. Now our road closure finishes at 7, and so our festival started, music started at midday through till 6. We had an hour to get the stage, the marquee, get it re-tarmacked and get everything gone, and get the roads, all the volunteers to clean the streets and all that kind of stuff. This year, much easier with the lorry. Now, we didn't have any rain cover for the audiences, but it meant that actually more people could come and see. So we're probably going to stick to this. Also, cost-wise, the marquee for the high street and the staging was about 50% of the budget for the festival. Whereas this year, this guy lent us to the stage.
When you were talking earlier about businesses working with each other and providing support for each other, the actual company that I did the festivals for the Sunshine Festival, they actually do a lot of sponsorship and things like that.
Oh, do they? Okay.
If they're using their name, if you use their names.
That's it.
Maybe it might be an idea to put you in touch with them, because they are definitely searching for local things in this area, because they're based in Ipswich.
Oh, okay.
But they travel all round.
Brilliant. Oh, okay, so I'd definitely be interested to talk to them. Yeah. We fund this completely from sponsorship. These banners,
That's good, yeah.
and these banners, you know, the original, that is Marston's Brewery. That's by From Creative Marketing Company. Marston's Brewery make a killing that weekend, as you can imagine, across the town. And because we have some very nice landlords, they went and spoke to the brewery and said, without these people, volunteers putting this on, you're not going to get all these people in the town drinking your beer. You should give them some money to try and help the festival to carry on, which was great, you know. And the quayside, we have a marquee for the quayside, but that's the council owned one. They lend it to us, and so we get, you know, we have bands on there all day. We used to build scaffolding and put film on as well, but we don't do that anymore because because we're all volunteer led. We're all based on the team that you have. Our volunteer used to run that part. It's Cornwall, so yeah, got someone to do that. But having a team of volunteers to work with you on any project is really, really key to being able to make it happen. And a lot of that comes down to, can you get on with people? It's really helpful if you can. Can you share and give the excitement of your vision of what you're trying to do to that person so they want to? And then when they help you, to thank them, you know, and so to acknowledge with them how this is only really possible because of the team that you've got around you. Otherwise, you are flying solo all the time. You know, this gentleman, he doesn't need to do this. He's a very wealthy individual who lives in the area, who's retired, and he doesn't need to come out and then do 12 hours lugging scaffolding around and putting up marquees. But because he's got the shared vision of what we're trying to do, and he thinks it's great for the town, and enjoys the people around him, he comes and gave his time for the whole weekend. And we've met with him since, and he's going to come and help again next year. So working with people like that is really important.
Supporting your local communities as well.
It's building that community of
things
people.
like this are brilliant for the youth of today as well, because I do a lot of youth work as well.
Yeah, okay.
And I worked with a company called Fairbridge in Birmingham, and they did a lot of this sort of stuff where they set up like festivals and things to encourage the younger generation to enjoy it. But a lot of the time they don't want to pay, like you said, and people offering their time, that's really valuable. That's really important because, you know, with the musicians as well, we encourage young musicians to send in, so we tend to open up with a young up-and-coming band, you know, it's all original music on our stages. Are you working with the BBC Introducing?
So I met with them, I put the BBC Introducing on at the Regal in Tenbury 2-3 weeks ago, and we spoke with them about maybe coming and doing a live slot from the festival next year, which would be really, really cool. But, you know, we had Macy O this year. We were really chuffed up. Have anybody heard of Macy O? It's a female singer. So she was just busking in the street in Ludlow, and who was it who saw her? I can't remember. It was one of the big acts who were playing the Castle to 5,000 people. Really liked what she did, and said, "Do you want to come and sing?"
Kaiser Chiefs?
Yeah.
Kaiser Chiefs.
Well, right, yeah.
Wow.
And she just said, "Do you want to come and do a song?" And it was like, and we were really, because that obviously made all the press and everything and stuff. And so we were really chuffed that. We booked her before she got famous in that area. So, so a lot of people then came to see that. We have a band called, there's a Mars band, and they were just really, really interesting progressive rock band. 13 to 16 in age, really interesting band. They came and started the High Street stage for us for a few years just before lockdown. And yeah, it's just supporting original local music. All
so
the
you've
pubs do
got
covers
a range
music.
of different ages then.
Oh yeah, totally.
These are a lot of young people that are starting out as well as the...
Oh totally, yeah.
I'm just going to, so the last bit, so a bit that's key for me on the Shirefolk gigs is that Weston Gen always get local support acts.
Yeah.
So you've got acts coming in from all over the country to play these gigs, but to have a local support just brings in a few more people. We get to see new and upcoming artists that we don't know in and around our area. So I think that's another big selling point. So if you're thinking about putting a gig on, if you've got the big band, always like get at least one local support, give someone a chance. Would you say it's a...
Yeah, totally. And it also really helps with the local press coverage if you've got a local support
Have you
act
ever
as
thought
well.
of actually using like Kidderminster College as a sponsor or something like that, to sponsor the people to send to some of these to help with the day?
Well, we've worked with Hereford College, but it is open to all, and so we're spreading the word. So there's a contact us on the webpage. So jump on there. If you're interested in doing that, reach out to us, because we only take one with us on each tour, because we want to make it as hands-on as possible. We don't want this like, you've got 5 people watching, it's like, no, we work with one person, there's the desk, off you go. We're going to show you, you know what I mean? So it's kind of it's a hands-on experience. So there are limited spaces, but please do register.
When is it? Sorry?
Each tour has got, so our next tour is the 1st to the 3rd of February. And then we've got like this special one-off event that we won't be doing the sound for that, they've got their own sound engineer. Then it's the 14th to the 16th of March, 13th to the 11th of April, and we're about to announce 3 more that takes us through to July. So it's just it's not like a fixed, it all kind of fitted around where the venues were. Are the artists doing other shows? Are they in the country because they're off doing an Australian thing? You know, it's kind of, yeah.
Okay. Any last questions? Would anyone be interested in playing any of these things? Or doing the sound?
Okay.
Could you do it as a joint thing if people apply? Because like, we're working together at the moment on a project.
I know, but the point of the project is that getting that individual ready to go out into the workplace, which is a solo thing. There is a registration for wanting to be a support artist on the webpage as well. So if you want to jump on there.
And it's original.
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 So the support, we only do the original.
So they don't do covers, they literally make their
We have,
own.
the artist will occasionally throw in a cover, but that's because some original artists do the 1 or 2 covers. But generally this is about giving a voice to new music for audiences to come and experience something that we use the phrase, probably haven't heard of before, but we can promise you'll never forget once you've seen it. You know, and that's kind of what we're trying to do.
So I've been to the 3. So I go to Ludlow Gin Distillery. So it's upstairs. You've got whiskey casks all the way along. So there's this beautiful smell.
These are the 3 you've seen.
Yeah, the 3 I've seen. You're this close to the person's literally there. You're that close, and afterwards you just get to chat to them, because there's only like 35, 36. It's not overbearing for the performer. So people just go, oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
What's the guitar you use? You know, do you know what I mean? So and immediately it's intimate, and you go away. You've spoken to them. Had a little bit to do with George. Wes was really kind, introduced me to him. We kind of listened to the album and talked about stuff. You know, he's releasing an album, and he kind of needed, because Wes has been mentoring him. Because I know Wes, we kind of had a chat with George. We had a sort of 3 chat about.
Phil was really, really kind to donate some of his time to come and listen to the album, give his feedback, and you know, Phil's got an amazing back catalogue and experience, and we shared that with George. It was really, really, really.
Yeah, and George was like, you know, George was really open and said, what do you think of the songs? I was like, the intro's too long. Stop whistling. Or whatever, and he's like, yeah, but they're all things he already kind of knew. But you know, we were talking about he's bringing an album out in April and he wants some songs to be the singles. What do you think? And I said, I think the intro's too long. He went, yeah, I thought it was. I said, it takes too long to get to the vocal for a single. The album track can be as long as it wants. So you as an audience get to go and speak to them and go, that's brilliant.
That's it.
And I think that's the key thing as well, isn't it? It's very intimate. And
which is probably what sells the next tickets.
It
and
does.
The tickets after that.
You feel like you're in a shared space with this person.
And we see the same people, the audience. So the last time we went, someone was like, hello. And I was like, I have no idea who you are. Oh yeah, you were here last time. Oh, hello. And everyone's just chatting, you sit in your row, people going, how you doing?
It's not just that, when he becomes like internationally world famous and he goes to another country, imagine him like coming back one of the years and doing like a reunion or something and being able to see him again and 5 years on.
This lady's just got a step on the new. She's International Woman of the Year, international something like that.
Yeah.
In Bristol, for Bristol, you know what I mean? She's
doing stuff with the Water Boys and
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. Oh yeah, they're all amazing, all different. And going back to the colours, some of them do a colour, they're radically different.
Yeah.
If you're going
So
to do
they're their own
if you're going to do a
interpretation.
cover, just, you know, we've talked about this before, if you're going to do a cover, just radically rework it, you know, in your own kind of style.
She didn't do Life on Mars with you, did she, at Thursday?
No.
She did my all-time favourite now version of Life on Mars. She did.
Is it online?
Not yet, but I filmed it all.
Oh, did you?
So, oh yeah, so I'll be putting that one online.
So the other thing that Wes does is he films the whole concert. So the
So
artist,
they get coverage as
they
well.
can, yeah. So I mean, in theory, if they wanted to do a live album or a live EP, Wes has got all the splits.
And do they get that content as an artist? Sorry.
So I own recordings of those. So
Yes.
what I do is I've got the multi-track recording on here from In Logic, and I filmed 3 cameras. And what I'm doing now over the next December, January, while we're not doing live shows, I'm editing them all up and putting them all onto the Shirefolk Facebook and YouTube, and so that they can share
Share it then, yeah.
So one of the other things that I've had is when I'm programming for venues, and an artist reaches out to me and goes, or an agent comes to me and goes, will you put this on at your venue? I don't know the name. Right, okay, so for me I've got a risk. How much, will we sell enough tickets to break even? You know, is the first thing that I have to ask myself. And then, so what are they like live? You know, they've sent me this wonderfully beautiful, finished, polished video, but that could have taken them a week to record and could have spent 2 months in the studio. What are they actually like? So I always jump onto YouTube and then go and try and find a live recording of them, and they're usually really naff. And they're usually so low quality that I can't make an educated guess of, is this any good? Because it's a shaky phone at the back that a family taken member and zoomed in and zoomed out and zoomed in. Why they have to feel the need to zoom in and out all the time, I don't know. But it's just, and they put it online, and I've got to make a decision based on that. So what I'm trying to do is to try and solve that problem for these artists.
So you're not only doing the actual
I'm
festival,
making
you're-
these videos for them so that when other festivals and other venues search like I would, they're going to find something which is a much better quality product, and they can go, oh, that's really useful. Yeah, okay, yeah, we can book them. They sound great. You know.
That's really good. Because there's a lot of people out there that charge a hell of a lot of money for setting up. It's basically like a portfolio. You're setting up a
That's what I'm trying to do.
professional portfolio.
This is about supporting the artist long term.
But
So
you're
once
doing
they've
it
been
as
a
a
child,
yeah.
once they're an alumni with us, we continue to support them. So we ask them to send us press releases when they've got new singles out.
Wow.
We promote and push them in every way that we can from then on.
Keeping the network
And
moving.
also, and it's just a slight aside, Richard and I spoke about this. People doing gigs, like big gigs, they're not very, you know. So Francis Rossi, who's in States Quo frontman singer, he's been doing a tour, and he's come to like Hereford, Courtyard Theatre, and someone said, "Why are you doing these? You play like 100,000 venues, States Quo." And he went, "I love these. There's like 250 of you here. You're talking to me." He said, "I've done Nedworth in front of like 200,000 people." He said, "I'm playing guitar and wandering around a stage that's bigger than my house going, what am I going to have for dinner? What's for dinner tonight?"
Oh.
He said, "Whereas we're chatting now," and he said, "I'm doing more of these, because this is what I love, because I'm in contact with my audience, and with the banter." And he just told loads of stories. It was more like a comedy show, really. But more and more, so I think when you talk to those artists, they love doing the big shows, honestly, but these intimate ones, they get to sort of talk to the audience, they get a feeling of what songs work live, what don't work, and just get to interact with the audience, which they never get. When you play a big stage, it's like, yeah, hi, and you go, do you know what I mean? So it's good, I think, it's good for them, they get a sort of a groundswell feeling of what songs work. You know, it's like when we do performance clinic, you stand in front of 20 people and just go, well, that didn't work, or, well, that was really, really good.
Basically, have
Every
the
week, don't we?
support as well.
Yeah, yeah.
The support from the support.
Okay, all right? All good?
Any other questions?
Any other
thoughts?
questions?
Is
Okay.
that useful?
Yes. Yes? Right, so, what we're going to do, we're going to go for lunch. You need to be back here at 1. Wes is going to do another talk about something completely different. So we're going to talk about
Completely different.
guitar, technician, Peter Green, guitarist in Fleetwood Mac, pre-Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham when they were like the premier blues band. Wes had an awful lot to do with Peter.
The Fleetwood Mac album when he gave it us, it was amazing.
So I'm going to come in, he's going to show like tones of guitars, what people use, all that kind of stuff. So think about, you know, if you're going to be a technician and that kind of, the history of that band. I mean, we all talk about Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham, fantastic band, but there was a big band before that with a fantastic guitarist who had, you know, things happened to him. We discussed this briefly, it was really quite sad. So Wes was sort of a lot to do with that at the end, so you're talking about like working with him and all the stuff that happened with him with sort of his equipment and guitars and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really interesting. So a round of applause for Wes, please!